When I first worked on my ERAS application, I had so many questions. Today, I'm sharing the tips and lessons I learned along the way so you don't have to do it all alone. Welcome to today's channel. Today, we're diving into a crucial topic for anyone applying for residency, CV. In ERAS, your CV is called the Experiences section. You list 10 experiences and select 3 of them as your most meaningful ones. If you have questions about how to fill in the other sections of ERAS, it is very clearly explained in the Match Guys video, ERAS Application Step-by-Step Guide. I'll share the link for 2025 below. Why is CV so important? This document is often your first impression to the selection committees, and that first impression happens incredibly fast. Sometimes reviewers spend just 90 seconds or even a few seconds scanning your CV. That's why your CV needs to be clear, concise, easy to navigate, and highly convincing. To be honest with you, I felt really uncomfortable writing my CV because I thought my experience were nothing special. But in this video, I'll show you how to present even ordinary experiences effectively and make small things sound powerful. Here are some things to do before you actually started writing. Look at sample CVs. You can find examples from people ahead of you or checking websites like jobhero.com or careeraddict.com. I did not dive into it too much, but I heard it could be helpful. Seeing how others organize their information can give you a solid starting point. 2. Think about your overall structure, how you want to showcase your multifaceted self. Consider how many slots you dedicate to volunteer work, US clinical experience, and research. I personally allocate 3 to 4 slots for US clinical experiences, even separating different hospitals or subspecialties. 3 for volunteering and 2 for research. You can alternate it based on what you want to emphasize the most. This way, you show a balanced and well-rounded profile. 3. Just try to put down something. It's a process, and you will keep changing it throughout the whole application process. Don't aim for perfection on the first try. Here are some few key principles for actual writing. First, never assume the reader understands your activities or your school automatically. You need to give context. For example, if you study at a university that's also a major teaching hospital, mention that it's one of the top hospitals, how many beds it has, and what your role as a medical student was. Second, formatting matters. Use bullet points, and don't just format nicely in Word. Check out how it actually looks inside ERAS itself. ERAS has character limits, not word limits. Last year, it was 750 characters for the description of the 10 experiences, and plus another 300 characters for the meaningful experience explanation. And since ERAS requirements change year to year, make sure you double-check the latest instruction. Third, how do you make key points stand out inside your bullet points? Start each experience with a one-liner summary, like your quick headline. Some interviewers literally just skim titles and the first bullet. And make sure you start your sentences with action verbs like led, organize, develop, instead of using a lot of adjectives. This makes your writing clear and impactful. Finally, focus on what you did, not what the team did. They want to know your specific role and contributions. Let's get a bit more specific depending on the type of experience. For USCE, first bullet, my one-liner includes how long my rotation was and what it was equivalent to US doctors. For example, completed a 1-month hands-on rotation as a 4th-year medical student, handling 3 consultations daily. If you have multiple similar USCEs, reframe each one to highlight different aspects. Some of my friends use ChatGPT to help brainstorm different ways to phrase them. You can describe in other bullet points about your duties very concisely and how many patients you address. What can you specifically highlight? Think about presentations you gave, interesting cases you contributed to, specific skills you learned during standard patient sessions, or even positive feedback you received. For leadership and volunteering experience, my one-liner summarized what the activity was, the impact, and how many people participated. For example, promoted healthy eating in a rural Taiwanese community with high diabetes and hypertension rates through weekly educational sessions over 6 months, enhancing health literacy. Remember to include the specific number. Showcase your skills like teamwork or communication by describing concrete actions you took. Explain the impact, especially if it was a sustainable impact. For research experiences, mention your lab and your mentor. State how many papers or posters came out of your time there. Research experience doesn't have to be limited to your research skills. You can also showcase your teamwork, leadership, and teaching skills. One interesting point is how you can make even small things sound powerful. For example, I had a podcast with only 8 episodes and just a few listeners at first, but I described why I started it, the positive feedback I received, how it changed my listeners' health behaviors, and included a link to it. During interviews, several interviewers actually mentioned they listened to it ahead of time. They found it interesting and even encouraged me to keep going. Let's talk about hobby section. It's surprisingly important. You will almost definitely get asked about your hobbies during interviews. Sometimes a unique hobby like unicycling or making mapo tofu can make you stand out. If you don't have a specific hobby, think about common interests like having pets, jogging, or other cool habits. Can also be great conversation starters and help you connect with interviewers. What about the impactful experience section, where you describe challenges or hardships that influence your journey? This one is a little bit tricky. My friends and seniors recommended being cautious. Don't get overly personal. Focus on what you did in response to that challenge and how it helped you grow as a doctor. It's less about the event itself and more about your action and growth afterward. If you don't have a relevant experience, it's totally okay to leave it blank. A few more quick notes on ERAS. Geographical preferences. Should you fill it out? Most of my friends did, and some programs use it to filter applicants. Also, most IMG-friendly residency programs are concentrated in about 3 to 4 geographical areas. If you do write the reason, the advice is not to be too specific about individual cities and not to be exclusive. Keep your options open. Honors and awards. Stick mainly to university and after. Unless something before the university was very meaningful, you can probably leave it out. And yes, non-medical awards definitely count. They show diversity and character. Finally, English editing. Is it really necessary, especially now when you have AI tools that can help you inspect your application? Honestly, me and some of my friends still decided to get real English editing down, and it did make the writing flow smoother and sound much more powerful. So feel free to check out some English editing resources early. I heard from my friends that Grammarly also helps. And leave yourself enough time at least 2 or 3 weeks to go through the editing process without rushing. So to quickly recap, your CV is vital. Make it easy to read, highlight your accomplishments with action verbs and specific details, quantify your impact, explain context, and don't forget the hobby section. And remember that starting is the most important step. I hope these tips help you feel more confident and less overwhelmed about writing your residency CV. Please let me know in the comments if you find this video helpful, and good luck with your application process.